What up? Let's talk about how being on your purpose a lot of times it's going to create a lot of enemies in your life, and how I'm choosing to deal with it. You know, being like a purpose-driven person, being authentic, being true to yourself, being a big presence, carrying yourself with like respect and dignity is going to attract a whole lot of people, bring a whole lot of people in your on your on your radar. A lot of people are really going to see what you're doing, how you're carrying yourself, and they're going to just come to investigate. And depending on how that person feels about themselves, it's going to pretty much determine your relationship with that person and how they're what role that they're going to take in your life. Um, I've always kind of been that type of person to be very unapologetic about myself and how I want to carry myself, not really caring too much about how she or he or him or her are going to feel about what's going on with me. I'm just going to do what I want to do, and sometimes I would do it, in front of people, or sometimes I would just do it, in isolation. But I still was like very authentic about myself because I knew that no one else was going to be that for me. So I'm like, I gotta do this for myself. And what I've learned from that is I have gained, a lot of respect from people. A lot of people do respect the fact that I am like a straight shooter. I definitely don't like wasting people's time. I value their time. Hopefully, in return, hopefully they'll value mine's back. But that's also created like a lot of enemies in my life. I've noticed that not only for from me, but for like my family as well. That authenticity, that confidence that you show about who you are, not being willing to go with the flow, kind of be part of the herd, is just going to rub people the wrong way. They're really going to be like, why isn't that person following in line? You know what I'm saying? Why don't they cower in fear in front of me? Why don't they understand like what this is? They do not like that at all. That is something that irks. That taps into something that's deep rooted within them. And once they get to that understanding of like that's who you are, it's going to just awaken something in them that's going to cause them just to dislike you. And you're just going to make enemies by constantly just it's standing your ground and not wavering on people and how they feel. You know what I'm saying? People kind of want their feelings to be accepted and kind of catered to. Yeah, they want their reality to be the one that dictates what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Even though they don't want to kind of join everybody in our shared reality, they want to be like, no, I'm this, I'm who I think I am. Therefore, all of you have to pretend that's who I am as well. And also, you are who I think you are, and you are who I think you are, and no one's allowed to kind of deviate from that. You're not allowed to shift left or shift right. Kind of embrace who you want to be, or just just kind of go by the beat of your own drum. You're not allowed to just be a very authentic person, because by doing that you just tap into their insecurities about themselves and about how they aren't living up to that themselves. And yeah, that's going to create a lot of people who just aren't going to like you. And you can never really go through life as a very genuine person without pissing some people off. You know what I'm saying? They definitely are like, oh, like they're when they see you, they're trying to calculate how did you get to where you are, especially when they feel like inferior to you in some way, shape, or form. And once they find out, once they finish doing their calculations and find out one of the ways that you got to the way that you are is by being authentic and not catering other people, and pretty much just not caring how what people think about you, and they know that they haven't done that, They haven't gotten to that point, and they've been going through their whole life carrying what she thought and what she thought and what he thought and what he thought, and kind of going with the flow, kind of being a sheep, not necessarily being a shepherd. It really kind of irks them a little bit, when all of a sudden, once they come to that realization, they understand that other people are also going to come to that realization, like, oh, that person's different. That person's not going to go with the flow. That person's not actually sheep. That person's really kind of authentically themselves and aren't afraid to show that to other people. You know what I'm saying? People might think you're weird or a little off, by do or strange, but that's how all authentic people come across when you are being unapologetically yourself. It's always going to come across a little bit different. That's the beauty of being neurodivergent, is automatically just thinking outside the box and knowing what's best for you, but also having that nuance and being like, hey, things aren't as rigid as you make them out to be. But for me, when I know I have these enemies, when I know I have people who just aren't going to like me no matter what I do, I can meet them where they're at and be like, hey, this is who I really am, and this is what's going on with me. That's not really going to change a whole lot in their world, in their reality, because they're still who they are. You know what I'm saying? Like getting people who do not like you for who you are, not for like what you're doing, or they don't like you for what you stand for. Nothing is going to change that. No amount of breaking bread with these people are going to make them like you, or going to make them fully accept you, or meet you where you're at. They're not going to do that because of how they feel, and I want to give everyone that grace that maybe one day they can get to that place mentally, accept themselves, accept all parts of themselves, and being like, I am my worst enemy. I am creating this, um, these wars that I'm facing every single day, and once I kind of conquer myself and get to a point where I understand that I am creating a lot of these obstacles that I'm kind of traversing every single day, and stop projecting those onto other people, you'll really start to see some positive progress in your life. But some people, they don't even know that that's where they're even at. They feel like other people are the problem because maybe all throughout their life other people have been the problem, right? And they might have been the problem in their adolescence, and then even in their teens. It was always people coming at them, making them feel less than, and kind of just beating them down to where now they're in their adult life, and that's kind of like their whole worldview. That's their whole perspective that they've taken, and they might even like surround people that kind of maintain that worldview. They constantly are kind of having people who just do not contradict what's going on in their life. They don't even like see the foundation that they build themselves on is even sound. You know what I'm saying? One little tap, and all of a sudden everything falls over, and they get mad at you. It's like, well, no, this is your foundation wasn't even made to last longer than, like, the fact that you made it this long in life with this flimsy ass foundation should tell you a lot about yourself. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sit up here and tell you I did you a favor, but I sure as hell didn't like fuck you over by doing that. Um, that wasn't like my that wasn't my intentions. So once you get to that understanding that these enemies are going to just create these wars, you cannot become a great person without creating enemies off of just who you are and how you carry yourself, and your values, and your morals. People are going to create uh, enemies off their actions, and you definitely need to be cognitive of that, and making sure you're not constantly doing that. You're not becoming some most wanted by people who, in most circumstances, probably wouldn't even consider you a threat, but you're acting in a way that threatens not so much their way of life, but just kind of, you're going against their morals. You're kind of projecting who you want to be onto them, and you're kind of making them feel unsafe in a way that uh, isn't really jiving on like a moral standing. You don't want to be that person creating those enemies against people who normally don't even have enemies. That's something you probably should try to avoid. But creating or just gaining enemies by authentically just being who you are and how you carry yourself and the blessings you receive from that is something that I'm definitely embracing more and more now that I am, getting closer to my path of, motivating people to be their authentic selves and being unapologetic about it and giving something, being part of something greater than myself and being something that people can believe in and strive towards in their life is something that's very, very close to my heart. And I understand that because of that, and that's how I carry myself, and that's what I do. I'm just going to attract a whole lot of people who are going to be like, I don't like that. I don't like the fact that you're doing this, and you're creating this for yourself, because I didn't do that, and I felt like I had to be someone who I wasn't to get to where I wanted to be. And you're being yourself. You're getting better results than I have. And I know, especially with my black pill video, that a lot of who I am isn't something that I worked towards. It is something that came innate to me. So I'm not going to sit up here and act like I worked like very hard to have these morals or these intuitions, these values. They're very much something that was just kind of I was always going to gravitate towards. Unless I was indoctrinated by some people, which I was luckily intelligent enough as a kid to gravitate away from people who were going to take me off my path. Um, but I do understand that I'm not some like prophet or some holier than thou person who are just doing these great things just because I grinded and I worked this and I did. Like, no, a lot of this came innate, and that's why I do give a lot of these enemies grace because they see that as well. They see how things just come naturally to me and to people who are like me, people who just are very much unapologetically themselves because they know that's going to get them the best results versus being someone who they aren't. Because and maybe in that person's reality, maybe in that person's that could be the very true thing for them. They aren't going to get a whole lot of great results by being their authentic selves because how people are. One person might talk about their job and their career, and they'll be like, oh wow, that person is very prideful of their job. They take a lot of pride in it. It means a whole lot to them, and that's a great thing for them to to have close to their heart. And another person who might not be as gifted, might not be as attractive, says the same exact thing, and oh, that person has a huge ego. They're very cocky. They're full of themselves, even though these two same people might have been talking about the same exact thing, but they're just getting completely different results. I understand a lot of people who cannot truly be fully themselves and still get the results that they're looking for. But at the same time, is the results that you're looking for even something that's even within your wheelhouse, or are you just kind of reaching for something that isn't really for you? So it's something I'm always considering every time I'm dealing with people who do not like me and are, making an enemy of me. Even though I do meet them where they're at, I'm always going to give them that grace about being like, if this is what you want to do, and this is the route that you want to take. If you want to be the villain in my story, that's fine. But I'm not going to like fan that flame and kind of go tit for tat for you. I'll meet you where you're at, and if you want to continue, then we'll just squash it right there and just be done with it. Or we can just go our separate ways and understanding like this isn't, this is something that I'm willing to give my life for, from my purpose. I'm not sure if this is something that you're really just doing for your purpose or you're just doing it for your ego. Have you not, gone through that ego death and understanding that your ego should be like a shield that protects you from people trying to tell you that you're not who you think you are, or people who are trying to like misguide you and keep you from your purpose. I think that's like the main purpose of your ego. And some people inflate it and become like this huge, like giant piece of armor that you can't even see the person underneath it anymore. I think that's something that's going on with a lot of people who are projecting their insecurities and how they feel on other people, which is causing a lot of conflict. Um, but in my opinion, creating these enemies or gaining, is a better word, gaining these enemies in your life for just being who you are is just part of the deal that you kind of have to accept at a certain point, that people are not going to always like you no matter what you do, and there are going to be people who aren't going to like you because of who you are and how they make you feel. Just by looking at you, they're just not going to like you. I know there's so many people who's going to watch this video and immediately just not like me, not give me any grace, not give me any heed anything that I say because of how they feel. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm going to accept that. I'm going to give them that grace to understand that they're pretty much creating this whole beef, and I need to, and other people who are similar to me, who are having enemies being created for them by being themselves, has to get to I'm getting to a point of being like, what, I'm constantly going to have enemies for the rest of my life. My family has, my mom, my dad, my siblings, multiple people in my family, even my closest friends, my exes, all the relationships that I've been in, they've always had enemies who were just kind of coming at them and keeping them off their purpose. And it's inevitable to really have that in your life. And it's a very at least for me, it's cathartic to know that I must be doing something right if so many people are just interested in keeping me off of what I'm doing. So I know what I'm doing is pretty righteous for me and for people in my environment. I know a lot of people are going to appreciate what I'm going to be doing, and I want to get a lot of people involved. And people see that, and they're just like, I don't want that for you. They might not want that for themselves, and even if they do, they're not willing to do what I'm willing to do to get it. Because like I said, how they feel about themselves or what's going on in their personal lives, and it's not even like a biological thing too. Like that's always going to be a bigger piece of the pie, but a lot of that is like a very mental thing that they're just kind of stuck in this mode of how they think. And for me, it's not going to stop me to understand I have all these enemies, no matter how powerful. Excuse me. No matter how powerful they are, it's going to just motivate me more to do more, to continue being like, oh, what I'm doing must be the right thing. I must actually be getting close to achieving my goals. If you're constantly just being like, no, don't do this. Why are you doing this? What's going on here? Just constantly questioning what I'm doing when I know I'm going down the route that I'm going. So it's good to always have people who see what you're doing and give you praise and give you props, because that's also going to help keep you on your path and on your mission. So I try to embrace those enemies and use them as, like I said, motivation to continue what I'm doing. And no matter who those enemies are, they can be your closest friends, your relatives. A lot of them are going to be those people, unfortunately, or fortunately, depends how you want to see. I see it's fortunate to see people's true colors, and give them that grace, because just because they're your enemy doesn't mean that they're a terrible person. You know what I'm saying? Someone might treat you disrespectfully, and then they might go home and like love their family and their friends and their community. So I don't feel like that gives me the right to like smite someone or come at someone because of how they treat me. That's not how I want to carry myself, and I want to give people that grace. I know a lot of people have given me that grace. I might have rubbed them the wrong way, but they understand that other people do care about me. So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna let this slide, and I appreciate that. I'm gonna return that favor for the people who make enemies of me. I'm just gonna be like, you know what? I don't know you. I might not ever get to know you, but I'm going to not really take all this hyper personal where it's just I need to right every wrong that happens to me and go after people who have slighted me in my life, because that's not all of who they are. It's just a part of who they are, and it's just kind of who they were on our when our paths collided. Yes, that's who they were going to be. So uh yeah, enemies are going to come to you when you're just being yourself and just not going with the flow, because that's what they need to make themselves feel big and strong and powerful. And yeah, don't give into it. It's not worth it. It's going to make you feel like less of a whole person by giving into that and allowing people to keep you off you, knock you off your block. It's not worth it. It's very much inauthentic and very fake, and that's not who you are. You're a very authentic person. So continue being that person. Embrace your enemies, and try to give them some grace, because that's who they are in your life. And be very very proud that you have achieved something worth other people fighting you over. You know, doesn't happen. It doesn't happen to everybody. It pretty much only happens to the best of them. That's creating enemies just off of who you are and how you carry yourself. So yeah, accept it, embrace it, and don't stop. Get out of here.